Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant chapter 3, verses 1 to 5. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Shri Bhagavan
Shri Bhagavan uvacha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Naishkarmyam purushoshnute.
Naishkarmyam purushoshnute.
Nacha sanyasana deva.
Nacha sanyasana deva.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति
न हि कश्चित् क्षणमपि
न हि कश्चित् क्षणमपि
जातु तिष्ठत्य कर्मकृत्
जातु तिष्ठत्य कर्मकृत्
कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्म
कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्म
सर्वः प्रकृतिजैर्गुणैः
सर्वः प्रकृतिजैर्गुणैः
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we have just started the chapter 3, Karma Yoga, the yoga of karma. Why I am saying yoga of karma is because, as I explained to you in the introduction, karma has so many facets. So we have chosen the word action for the sake of translation, which is what the overall focus is going to be on. But when we go into the depth, you will see that karma means so many things. It means action, it means reaction, it means your impressions. It is a path, it is a goal, everything. So that is the most fascinating part of the Bhagavad Gita. Even though the Gita has 18 chapters, each chapter by itself is complete. Supposing you are unable to master the 18 chapters, does not matter. Just master one chapter. Now what is even more interesting is, in the yogic approach, when we go to every verse of a chapter, each verse by itself is actually complete. If you have the capacity to penetrate, and if you go deep into even one verse, that can reveal the entire wisdom to you. And within the verse, there are so many principles given. Even one principle, if you are able to penetrate and go very deep, that can take you to the truth. So what this shows is that Bhagavad Gita is not an external textbook which needs to be read like how you read other books. See, generally when you read a book, it is in order to get some information. But actually Bhagavad Gita is not a book which merely gives you information. If you use the yogic approach, the Bhagavad Gita will act like a telescope. See, using a telescope, if you see the sky, you can start experiencing the vastness, you can start experiencing the stars and everything firsthand, which is different from seeing a photograph of the same stars or reading it in a book. When you read about a place, let us say you want to visit a particular place, and you get some information from a book about that place. In that book, the various description of that place is all given. Now when you read that and you gain the knowledge about the place, that is so different from actually visiting the place. When you actually visit the place and when you experience everything, that knowledge is called wisdom. It's a practical experience for you. And what you understand through your experience is something totally different from what you can get from books. So if you view this merely intellectually and stop with that, then Bhagavad Gita will be another textbook. This will be a mere classroom where some information is being shared and you can gather the information. But if you use the yogic approach, now Bhagavad Gita will no longer be a textbook. It will actually give you the experience of the truth, the higher spiritual experiences, the experiences of life, the subtler experiences of life can be actually obtained by using this yogic approach. It all depends on you only. How deep are you able to go and penetrate and absorb? So every Sunday, an effort is being made to very carefully guide you into the depth. But it is still a guidance only. A lot of cooperation is required from the student. It is the same principle when it came to Krishna and Arjuna also. What actually Krishna knew was his experience. When Krishna talks about the infinite, that is his experience. When he talks about the path, he knows that experientially. Now when he is trying to communicate to Arjuna, Arjuna will be understanding it from the level of the intellect, not from the depth of the experience. So this entire Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the effort taken by Krishna to guide Arjuna into the depth of that experience. If it is merely to give knowledge, that is not going to take time. The entire information which is contained in the Bhagavad Gita, which is contained in the Vedas, the Upanishads, can be given in a few lectures. But the person who is reading it or the person who is listening to it will remain the same. The condition of the mind is not going to change. Your experience will remain whatever it is, but you would have gathered more information and you may even repeat it to others like a tape recorder. You will understand a few things and try to explain it to others and all that. But as far as your life experiences are concerned, they will continue in the same way. So in this process of guiding a student to gain the depth of the experience, it is very important that the Guru gives the student that space to think, reflect and ask relevant questions. Why I am saying relevant questions is, sometimes questions can be totally irrelevant, People in the name of questioning, they just ask irrelevant questions. That will not help you to gain the depth of the experience. So the questions have to be very, very relevant to whatever path the master is trying to take you. Now, why is this questioning so important? Whenever you act, whenever you try to practice something, without understanding it, the depth will be much lesser. Supposing somebody were to tell you, now do this. Now you don't understand anything. You just simply do it. There is a possibility that when you do it even mechanically, over a period of time, you may be able to understand why the person asked you to do it, assuming that that person knows more than you. But sometimes what can happen is, when you just act mechanically without understanding what it is, there is no power in that action. When there is no power, then you will not get the desired effect. So whatever yogis suggest is that you combine both. See, being from Arjuna's level, Arjuna cannot understand every little thing which Krishna is trying to convey to him. If he can understand it 100%, then he has already reached the level of Krishna. So he cannot understand Krishna 100%. But at the same time, he has to put in some effort to try and understand the purpose or the meaning of what Krishna is trying to give him, to unravel the mysteries. So as a student is practicing whatever the Guru gives him, he or she should also put in some effort to understand the purpose behind the action. Both should go hand in hand. If you just sit and say, okay, let me understand the purpose behind everything which the Guru tells me, then I will practice it, you will never get into action. Because as I told you, 100% understanding of what the Master gives can happen only when you reach the truth. So you can't eternally wait and say, let me analyze and fully understand, then I'll get into practice. At the same time, if you don't put in any effort to understand, if you're just, the Master is saying something and you're just mechanically trying to practice it, what will happen is you will not grow fully, there will be no power in your actions. Not only that, if somebody else comes and gives some other logic, your mind can get influenced. You will not have the conviction in whatever you are practicing. So the great Master said, you with devotion, whatever the Guru gives you, you practice, but at the same time, simultaneously, keep putting in efforts to try and understand the meaning behind the practice, which is exactly what we are doing in this yogic approach. Many sadhanas have been given to you to practice, and at the same time, the effort is being made to make you understand the meaning behind the sadhanas. The sadhana means a spiritual practice. That combination will ensure that you are acting and at the same time you are improving the quality of your action or the power behind your action by intensifying your understanding. So here we see Arjuna asking a question in the first two verses of chapter 3. This is very significant. He spoke for the entire first chapter and then again many verses in the second chapter. And then in verse number 54 he asked a question as to who is Sthita Prajna and all that. And now again, once Krishna had explained to him who a Sthita Prajna is and how to become a Sthita Prajna, now Arjuna is again pausing and he is asking his clarifications. So the teacher always encourages this. Actually, if you go to all the scriptures, they are in the form of questions and answers only. If you go to the Upanishads, the student goes to a master and asks a question, and then the master gives. You take the Puranic stories, whether it is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana or Shiva Purana, any Purana, it is always a conversation between two people. That is very interesting. It is never a monologue. It is always a dialogue. Why? Because a human being has this natural ability to be inquisitive, to ask questions. And it is by asking the right questions that you can get the right answers, the right instructions, you can hit at the right principles for you to practice and transform your life. This principle can be applied in any field. If you want to become successful in your field, whether you're a singer or dancer or painter or computer engineer, whatever be your profession, doctor, engineer. Now, in order to learn and become a master in that particular field, become skillful in that particular field, you need to ask the right questions. Ask the right questions means you should seek. You should be prepared to learn and change your old concepts. See, everyone has certain belief systems, certain concepts. Now, when you want to learn something new, you should be prepared to throw away the old concepts and embrace the new concept. Only then the process of learning can start. The ego actually refuses to do that. Why is it that as a child you learn so many new things, whereas as you grow old your capacity to learn actually comes down? Because the ego also becomes strong. When a person's ego becomes strong, then the nature of the ego is to influence the mind, influence the person to stop learning. Because in order to learn something new, you have to admit your ignorance. The ego feels threatened. When you say, I don't know, see, when you're asking a question, it means you're saying, I don't know. So let me learn, please tell me. You're asking an expert. Now, the ego will not like it. Because when you say, I don't know, the ego sees it as a weakness, it becomes insecure. Whenever a person is egoistic, he will never learn. Because he feels that admitting his ignorance is a sign of weakness. Whereas, if you take a child who has relatively less ego, now whenever a child does not know something, he or she will immediately ask. A child will never hesitate to ask questions. I'm sure as a parent you would have experienced that, a phase where your child will go on asking questions. You get fed up, Why are you asking so many questions? Because the child has no ego, is genuinely wanting to explore. It is genuinely wanting to learn. But as the child grows, the ego also grows. And then the ego puts a covering. By the time you finish your schooling or your college and all that, practically you stop learning after that. Today in the medical field, they have found out that the learning center of your brain can keep regenerating, the hippocampus. That is the physical part. Now we are seeing the subtler part of one's personality. So what prevents you from regenerating that portion of the brain and learning? It is the ego. So to ask a relevant question, with a true motive of learning is one of the greatest virtue which a sadhak has. Every master will have that quality. Bhagavan Dattatreya, he went on learning from everyone. See, you will have one main guru from whom you will be seeking guidance. That is one thing. But why should that prevent you from learning from every experience in life? If you see something good in someone, now why not just pause and absorb that energy? It may be related to anything. It may be related to eating, or it may be related to walking, or the way a person is sitting, the way a person is speaking or communicating, or it could be some other subtle quality like a very nice emotion. Whatever it is, whenever you spot something good, now the ego immediately pushes the mind to feel jealous, so you tend to avoid it. Instead, from this moment onwards, you pause and learn to appreciate the goodness in others. When you appreciate the goodness in others, you need not even verbally express it. I'm not talking of verbal expression, I'm talking of internal an internal sadhana, an internal practice. When you learn to appreciate the good things in others, slowly, you will start absorbing all those good things, and you will learn and you will grow. Whenever you see a negative thing in someone, that is also a learning experience only. You learn what to avoid. Instead of going there, getting into a spirit of criticism, and you go on criticizing the other person, you look at the other person in a judgmental way. What is your learning in that? Okay, somebody has a negative quality. That person has made a mistake. Now you feel very happy about it, and you internally you go on judging that person and criticizing that person mentally. Now if you think about it, so now what is the outcome? Has that changed your life positively in any way? No. So instead of criticizing, if you can take it as a learning experience. So when you go through the various experiences of life, this is the sadhana of Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna Vacha means not merely asking a question verbally just for asking sake. It means having the attitude of learning, seeking, wanting to keep growing in life. So when you go through the various experiences of life, some experiences are positive, some experiences are negative. You go on learning from both. This is the very significance of Guru Purnima. I mentioned it during the Guru Purnima session also. What is it to become a student? The more the ego, the less you will want to learn. You may be with a master physically, that doesn't make any difference. See, there are instances in the Puranas where a student meets the master just once and absorbs the highest energy and grows with that. And there are instances where students who have stayed with the master very closely, physically, they have not learnt much. You should think about it. Why is that? The master is ever willing to give. Actually, see, this wisdom need not be given only through words. The master is constantly radiating the infinite vibrations, this reality. He is constantly emitting the infinite energy. Now it is a question of how much the student can absorb. So Arjuna asking a question, not only here, in many places of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna pauses and then Arjuna asks a question and then Krishna gets into the answer. The fact that Arjuna is asking these questions shows how much he wants to learn. See, when you ask a question, there could be different motives, bhavana. Sometimes some people approach a master and ask questions just to challenge the master. In such cases, the master will keep quiet. He will not give them the wisdom because they are not seeking that. Sometimes some people ask questions to check how much is the wisdom level of the master. Such people also cannot get the true wisdom. The master will not give. See, whatever you are seeking only you will get. Sometimes what is interesting is a person already has an answer. He just wants a confirmation. He doesn't want to know whether the answer is right or wrong, or he doesn't even want to explore further. He has already concluded, but he just wants a confirmation. So he puts the answer in the form of a question. The question itself, the motive can be clearly felt. Such people also will not get the true wisdom. Whereas that person who genuinely seeks the higher knowledge, who genuinely wants to absorb the higher energy, who wants to learn and who wants to grow, when such a person approaches the master, whether he asks a question verbally or not is actually irrelevant. But the fact that he is seeking, that will make the master give the wisdom automatically. In the Bhagavad Gita also, it is not that in every chapter now Arjuna asks a question. There are some chapters where no question is being asked and Krishna just starts giving out the wisdom. What that shows is, don't go by merely the external, that is the verbal action of, the external action of asking verbally. It is the internal seeking that matters. So Arjuna Uvacha is actually a beautiful sadhana. You see, everybody wants to become a Krishna. Is it so easy? Is it so simple? If you put in the right efforts and if you purify yourself, yes. But you need to start off by becoming an Arjuna first. So Krishna is called the Jagat Guru, the universal master, the master for this entire universe. He represents the Guru Shakti. Arjuna represents the Shishya Shakti, the energy of a student. And as I told you, both these are within you. Both Krishna and Arjuna are within you. See, Krishna and Arjuna represent so many other things also. As and when the context comes, I'll keep on giving you that. But in this context, why is it that Krishna is happily giving Arjuna the wisdom? You need to understand that. Because Arjuna is seeking. He wants to come out of this problem. In the first chapter, when he was not seeking, when he was in the mood of complaining, and he was trying to give advice to Krishna, Krishna just kept quiet. That's what I told you. When you're not seeking, you will not get anything. But the moment Arjuna starts seeking, now Krishna starts guiding. He starts giving him this wisdom. And it's very interesting because as the Gita progresses, Arjuna asks about different facets of self-mastery, spiritual transformation, what are these different paths, and how do we go about it. At every step, Krishna gives out this wisdom in an unrestrained way. Seeing that Arjuna has become genuine in his seeking, Krishna is willing to help him. In chapter 1, Arjuna was not at all seeking anything. He was just stating his problem, and he was convinced that that is the right course of action. He said, I will not fight. So Krishna just kept quiet. So in life, Arjuna, if you are an Arjuna, you will find the Guru Shakti constantly trying to help you, because Krishna is representative of that universal infinite consciousness. And one powerful aspect of that infinite consciousness is the Guru Shakti, which is present everywhere. So if you want to learn, don't say, I want to learn but I am not finding a Guru. That is an excuse given by the ego. If you become an Arjuna, if you invoke and trigger the Arjuna aspect within you, now automatically the Guru Shakti will start teaching you. You will start learning from every experience of life, and you will keep growing. So this Arjuna Uvacha actually should be practiced by every sadhak forever. As Bhagavan Dattatreya said, be a Nitya Shishya, be always a student, go on learning. This is an infinite science. Sthita Prajna is one who is in an auto mode of learning. He kept on being a student, where he has become 100% student, and that is why he is called a master, a Sthita Prajna. A master is said to be all-knowing. How? In order to know anything, you need to have the spirit of learning. A master has no ego whatsoever. So he is always in a position to know anything which he wants to know. When you have ego, even though you will have the opportunity to learn, to take guidance, you will not take. Because you will want to hide all your mistakes. You will want to hide your ignorance. You feel threatened by that. So Arjuna Uvacha, from a sadhana point of view, means opening up to this infinite knowledge, opening yourself up to this infinite possibilities of learning and growing, expanding yourself in infinite ways. Actually, your whole life becomes so enjoyable when you get into that spirit. Whenever you go through the positive experiences, you will enjoy, you will learn. Whenever you go through negative experiences, again you learn. Life itself becomes so enjoyable, interesting. See, whenever you want to learn something and you go and attend that class, you will enjoy it so much. When I'm saying, when the desire to master that particular art is there. Now, when you develop this desire, this ichcha, to master the entire art of life, then every aspect of life will become very interesting for you. So, Arjuna Uvacha, if you truly practice the sadhana behind these two words, it will take you to the next level, because you will become a true seeker. And as you become as you increase the percentage of your seeking, you will automatically start learning. The higher grace will come and bless you. The Guru Shakti will come and help you. And you will start the process of growth from within. So Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said. How powerful these words are, So now, when as I told you, the Bhagavad Gita is in the form of question and answers. What does that show? It's not only the Gita, the Upanishads, everything. That shows that spirituality is not to not to get into blind beliefs. See, today they differentiate science versus spirituality, they say. Science means logic, spirituality means belief. That is wrong. In spirituality, logic also has a place, belief also has a place. Same thing with respect to science also. It is not that science is devoid of belief. See, if a scientist wants to do research on something, he believes that there is a possibility to get an answer. Otherwise, he will not get into that research at all. Similarly, when you get into blind beliefs, that is understood as spirituality today. But you find all the scriptures in the form of question and answers. What does this show? They are encouraging this tendency to ask questions and think logically, to understand every little thing and practice. So in the name of spirituality, if you are getting into blind beliefs, actually you are moving away from true spirituality. So spirituality is not divorced from science. The approach, I'm saying, science focuses on the external world. Spirituality focuses on the inner world. The domain is different. That is external, this is internal. But the approach is one and the same. So that is why in all these chapters toward the end, he says Yoga Shastra. The word Shastra is used. Shastra means science. It means other things also, but one of the main meanings of Shastra is science. So he says yoga itself is a science. Spirituality is a science. Every chapter is a science. He says science of Sankhya Yoga. That's what we saw in chapter 2. Now this is the science of Karma Yoga. Why is he calling it a Shastra, a science? Because we follow those basic principles of questioning at every step in order to understand and learn. Again, not questioning just for questioning's sake or to challenge, but in order to learn. So this smashes all these concepts which people have, that whenever you're in spirituality, it means you become unscientific and all that. Whether you're scientific or unscientific depends on your inner approach, not on the field of your activity. Supposing you're studying physics, one person is studying physics, one person is studying mathematics, third person is studying chemistry, fourth person biology. Now these are all different aspects of the world which they are studying. Now whether these people are scientific or not depends on what approach they take while they are studying. If they are just mechanically accepting whatever is being given, then they are only believing, even though they are in science. They are only getting into blind beliefs. So whether you are scientific or not depends on the approach. And what is that approach? Basically questioning everything and trying to understand. So just as these are all external fields, now spirituality is the inner science. So a yogi is also a scientist, an inner scientist. We can divide the scientists into two, external scientists and internal scientists. The yogi does not lose the scientific approach. Today it's a total misunderstanding. People who just get into blind beliefs think that they are spiritual. No way. A true yogi, a true spiritual person is a very deep inquirer. He has a deep quest. It is a search. A person who is willing to, who is ready to say, I don't know, let me know, that person is spiritual. The moment you get into a blind belief, you are believing something without even finding out whether that is true or not. You are not willing to proceed further in terms of searching and learning. That is actually tamas at the emotional level. You are stopping your effort. Then that cannot be spirituality, that cannot be yoga. Yoga or spirituality means constantly striving. The effort should never stop. So Arjuna Uvacha actually reveals so many things, so many secrets about how you can become a very effective sadhak. The more effective you are as a sadhak, you can expedite your evolution, you can grow faster. That is the whole idea. So Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said, so what did he say? What did he ask? If you consider knowledge superior to action, O Janardana, then why do you engage me in this terrible action, O Keshava? So he says Chet. Chet means if. If you consider like this, then why are you saying this? Tat kim? So what is he asking? If you consider knowledge superior to action, we'll go part by part. It will make it easy for us to penetrate and get the sadhana tips also. So he's saying, if you consider knowledge superior to action. Now, why is he saying this? If you consider buddhihi, buddhi means intellect, it means knowledge, it means awareness. So if you consider the knowledge or the instrument of knowledge, which is the intellect, all these things as superior to action, if you think that this is superior. So why did Arjuna get that impression that Krishna is thinking, is considering buddhi to be more important than action? It is because in the second chapter, when he was explaining to Arjuna about the Sita Prajna, how to become a Sita Prajna, he made this statement, Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. If your intellect is lost, everything is lost. If your awareness goes away, then you will devolve completely. And not only that, you remember those verses where he gave the ladder of fall, how the mind develops various complications, what are the various modifications of uncontrolled desire, what are the different emotions which you can develop, how they can actually ruin your personality, ruin your life, how they can destroy your peace if you don't know how to gain mastery over your emotions. So all this Krishna kept emphasizing, because the context there was how to become a Sthita Prajna. In between, he did also talk about Karma Yoga. Before he talked of Sthita Prajna, he did mention about the Karma Yoga, and he said that is the practice of Sankhya Yoga. But since he emphasized the principle of gaining control and mastering one's emotions and developing the buddhi, the intellect, gaining the knowledge, sharpening one's intellect, increasing one's awareness, and growing very powerfully and becoming a sthita prajna. Since he emphasized on these aspects so strongly, now Arjuna is thinking Krishna is considering knowledge to be superior to action. Now, this assumption itself is wrong. This is a common mistake which people make. See, a master never considers anything as superior or inferior. Everything depends on the context only. Now, supposing you were to ask, is eating superior or is sleeping superior? Now, how can you answer that question? When you are hungry, then food is only superior. But you had your food and all that and you're feeling very sleepy. Now, sleeping is only superior, or bed is more important than your food at that point of time. You cannot have a standard answer which is superior, the bed or the food, supposing you ask. That answer cannot be given. It all depends on the context. So, when you are talking to someone about, let us say, hunger, and how the mechanism of the body, how it says I want food, and you're explaining hunger to someone, at that time you will emphasize more on the importance of food. That is the context there. Now, if you're talking about sleep, how important sleep is, there you will emphasize the importance of the bed and how you need to relax and sleep and all that. So, according to the context, you may emphasize on one particular aspect of life, but that doesn't mean in general you are saying now that is more superior, that is superior to this. So, you will always find a master changing the emphasis. To one person he may say, you have to gain knowledge. That is what is most important. To another person he may say, you have to get into action. Action is what is most important. To a third person he may say, what knowledge and action and all that. You have to develop the devotion, the bhavana, the bhakti is what is most important. It all depends on the context, what will suit that particular person. If a person is very lazy, then the master will stress on action to that person. If a person is getting into too much of blind beliefs, he will stress on knowledge, understand whatever you're doing. If a person is very mechanical, he has absolutely no bhavana at all, he does everything like a machine, he will say, no, first build devotion. Or a person is highly egoistic, he will emphasize on humility. If a person is lacking self-confidence, already he has gone to that extreme humility, so he will tell him, now come on, build some self-esteem. So a master will emphasize on one particular aspect of spirituality depending upon the context. So in chapter 2, Arjuna was asking Krishna about a sthita prajna. And prior to that portion, Krishna was giving certain very high principles. So in that context, he emphasized on a few things. Even though he emphasized on action, Arjuna has actually missed it. Because this part of the wisdom was hitting him so strongly that he missed the portion where Krishna spoke about Karma Yoga also. So he is confused. He is saying, if you consider knowledge superior to action, jayasi. Jayasi means superior. So what you need to understand is, in spirituality, nothing is superior or inferior. Every aspect of your sadhana has a place as far as your growth is concerned. Listening to Yoga Sankirtan every day, doing the sadhana with that is very important. Sir, is that important or night sleep is important? If you don't sleep properly in the night, then when you're listening to Yoga Sankirtan next day, the Yoga Sankirtan energy will make you sleep. It's quite natural. So now which is more important? Both. Sir, I am listening to Yoga Sankirtan, so can I eat any kind of food I want? No. You will have to ensure that you have nutritious food. Every day you are eating all kinds of unhealthy food, too many processed foods and all that. And then you are saying, I am listening to Yoga Sankirtan, I am doing the Kaya Tattva meditation. Then the effect will be much, much lesser only. So in spirituality, we look at the overall development. It is a balance which is the key. So a little bit of Jnana Yoga you need to do, a little bit of Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, a little bit of Karma Yoga, the yoga of action, you have to do your duties in life. Then one portion you have to dedicate it for the sadhana of dhyana. As far as you're concerned, it's the Yoga Sankirtan, which is the highest form of meditation. Then the rest of your life, a certain portion of your time you need to dedicate it for physical kriyas, for exercises, the yogic kriyas. And then some portion of your time has to be dedicated for eating, drinking water, breathing. Every aspect is important. So, sir, is this superior or that superior? No doubt Yoga Sankirtan is the highest sadhana. Very highest means very subtle. But that will lose its effectiveness if you don't discipline your life in all these other aspects. Supposing you overeat and then you say, I am going to do Yoga Sankirtan sadhana. It will not be conducive. You will not be able to get a good experience. So even though Yoga Sankirtan is a very powerful and subtle sadhana, you will not be able to get the full benefit. So even the supporting factors are extremely important. See, this is so true in every aspect of life. If you take food, for example, you have, they add some chili powder, they have some rice element, let us say, then they have some salt, then some turmeric, so many things they add. Everything put together will give you the final taste. So you put everything, now you forget to add a little bit of salt. That food will be so bland, it will be tasteless. Which ingredient is more important? Salt is only this much, so let me not put it. You cannot say that. When you're doing your exercises or any work, even your office work, when you're doing that, if you notice, it will have many aspects. Now you will have to balance all the aspects and then function in life. Such a person will be very effective. When you pick up only one aspect and you highlight only that and you leave the rest, then it will lead to a lopsided development. So this question of Arjuna itself is stemming from a wrong understanding, which is a common misunderstanding which people have. They always think one aspect is superior and one aspect is inferior. See, this superiority and inferiority, the human mind tends to project on everything and even on people also. How did this superiority and inferiority based on religion, caste and all this develop? It is all because of this ignorant the projection of the ignorant mind. Some people think that if you're born in a particular family, you're superior. If you're born in a particular family, you're inferior. How ignorant, it is just based on ignorance. There is no basis for all this. So how does a yogi view life? He views every aspect of life as important. There is nothing which is superior or inferior. Everything is superior. So right from beginning, when you aim at this overall balance, now when you reach the truth, you will understand that truly, in its essence, nothing is superior or inferior. Everything is God only. Every aspect of this world is pervaded by that infinite, supreme reality. And how can one aspect be superior or inferior? It is all in your mind only. So this question, if you consider knowledge superior to action, so Arjuna is projecting his ignorance onto Krishna. Krishna never considered knowledge superior to action. When we come to Krishna's answer to this question, it will be very interesting. See, Arjuna, in the next verse, Arjuna will say, you tell me one thing, should I act or should I gain knowledge? Tadekam vada means tell me one thing. Krishna never gives him a direct answer. He says for certain people knowledge is the path, for certain people action is the path. Means depending on the context, the emphasis will keep varying. So what is the sadhana tip? As a sadhak, what can you understand from this? First thing you need to do is aim at an overall balanced growth, not a lopsided development. Many people, they come and tell me, I am practicing yoga sankirtan every day. I ask them, what about your physical exercises? No, that I am not having time. Then it will lead to a lopsided development. See, when you're eating food, the nutrition has to be spread to all the parts of your body equally. Supposing, let us say, your right hand alone gets more nutrition, all the nutrition, and that becomes very strong, and your left hand doesn't get any nutrition. Now it will lead to a lopsided development. Your right hand will be very strong, but your left hand will be very weak. Supposing your legs don't get any nutrition, only the upper part of your body gets all the nutrition. Again, that will lead to a lopsided development. Even though you will have a strong upper body, because your limbs are very weak, you will not be able to function in life. So this is another question which many sadhaks ask. Sometimes, you find that you're doing the sadhana, you put in your best efforts, but the results are not coming to in proportion to the effort which I am putting. That's not true. You would have neglected the other aspects of sadhana. That is why in the Kaya Tattva program, the ancient secrets of health, I had spent a lot of time in explaining to you about the balance. See, health cannot be achieved just by one or two actions like that. You have to balance every aspect of your life. With respect to health, the physical body. So whether it is sleep or food or breathing or exercises, everything, drinking water, the liquid part, everything has to be balanced. Supposing you're doing yoga sankirtan on one hand, but you're not sleeping properly, or you're drinking alcohol every day. Now the effect of this yoga sankirtan will get neutralized. then how can you say that this is superior to that? If we say Yoga Sankirtan is the highest sadhana, it means what is meant is it is an advanced sadhana that is very subtle, very powerful. But the supporting factors also play a very big role. So the sadhana tip which you can get from the very question which Arjuna is asking is that from this moment onwards, it is, try to expand this concept of sadhana to your whole life. Don't restrict it to merely that session of Yoga Sankirtan. The rest of the day, whatever you're doing, they will all support the main sadhana of Yoga Sankirtan which you are doing. It is like, you have a wound and the doctor applies some medicine. The rest of the day also you need to basically take care of that and protect it. Supposing as soon as you come out of the hospital, you are scratching the wound every now and then. But medicine you are applying during that time, but rest of the time you are scratching, then the wound will not heal. So you are listening to Yoga Sankirtan, very good, that part you may be doing, but what about the rest of your life? So bring about the balance in all the aspects. That is why what you should do is, when you get into the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, you should also make an analysis of which area in your life is the problems are very high. That is, there is an imbalance which has been created. It could be your relationship with your spouse. It could be a relationship with your children. It could be your career. It could be your health. Or you may be addicted to alcohol or smoking or something, whatever it is. Now use this Yoga Sankirtan to overcome that issue first. You need to apply these principles first to create the balance in life. So when you do your main sadhana, the other supporting factors should also be taken care of. Don't think they are not so important. This is what is superior. Krishna never considers that knowledge to be superior to action. If he considers like that, why should he spend the entire 3rd chapter on Karma Yoga? If you go to the 12th chapter, it is about Bhakti Yoga. Why should these great masters give all the aspects of the sadhana, starting from your physical exercises to the subtlest meditation? If one thing is superior, just do that. Nothing else is required. It is never ever said that way. So, if you consider knowledge superior to action, he is projecting his ignorance on Krishna. Now, he uses the word matam. Mata means thought, considering. If you consider, the word matam is a very powerful word. Matam actually means thought, idea. It means a doctrine, a religious belief, opinion. Matam means opinion. Now Arjuna uses the word matam, but actually the fact is, a true master will not have opinions. He will go on facts. See, a master is factual. He is not an opinionated person. See, Arjuna is not understanding that difference at all first. See, everyone has a lot of opinion. What is the difference between fact and opinion? Fact means whatever the realities are, that is what you stick to. Opinion means that can differ. It may be true, it may not be factually true. That is an opinion. And it differs from person to person. So a master always sticks to facts. He doesn't go by opinions. But a normal person always goes by opinion. People are never factual. See, when you interact with someone, without even trying to probe, you just see 2-3 actions which that person does, immediately you will conclude and form an opinion that person is bad. But when you go into that person's life, you will find that actually that person may not be bad. So due to certain circumstances, that person may be reacting in that particular way. So a master always goes by facts. A normal mind doesn't go by facts. When I say a normal mind, I'm saying the general trend, an average mind. It always tends to form opinions and beliefs without any facts. So Arjuna, he has lived like that throughout his life. So naturally, when he sees Krishna, he is not able to understand that Krishna is beyond opinions. Whatever Krishna tells is not his personal opinion. Those are all facts of life. So when you go to a master is always factual. But you tend to misinterpret and you think that it is his opinion or preference. A master actually has no bias, no opinions. He always looks at every situation in a fresh way. But he is firmly grounded in the facts of life, in the basic principles of life. So everything which a master gives is always based on facts. And yet Arjuna uses the word mata here. See, this is a common weakness which people have. That is, they tend to project their weaknesses onto others. Like if you have a particular weakness, you will project it on the other person and you will start interpreting the other person's words and actions based on your mind. This is a classic example. See, the Bhagavad Gita, there are so many psychological tips also which are given. So as we go along like this, I will keep unraveling those psychological principles also, which will be extremely useful to you in your life. See, when you relate with people, generally you tend to project your mind and you form opinions about them. This person is like that person is like this. Based on what? Just based on a few things which you see. Whereas a spiritual person will never form opinions like that. He will come to a conclusion only when he has sufficient facts. You see a person shouting, immediately you conclude he is a short-tempered person. That is an opinion. Just based on that one incident. You see someone crying, immediately you say, oh, he is a very depressed person. See, the mind tends to form opinions very fast. Especially today, the trend is to form opinions on famous people. A person becomes a celebrity in whatever field, he or she is in. Now, just based on one action, because that person is in the limelight, so that person becomes noticed by everybody. Now, just because that person, just based on one action of that person, immediately the society forms an opinion about that person. So as a sadhak, when we see these defects in Arjuna, we again learn from that. We should work on that and we should come out of these weaknesses which are actually pulling us down. So as a sadhak, don't get into opinions, rather keep on collecting facts. When you, without facts, when you come to a conclusion, you will form a judgment without any basis. So you will either criticize the other person or even praising also. Just based on one thing, now immediately you start following that person. That is a very wrong thing to do. You need to maintain your balance. This will be very, very useful to you in terms of your relationships. Your relationships will start improving if you absorb this principle and start practicing it. That is, start becoming factual in life. Don't conclude, don't come to opinions fast and then you form strong judgments. Thereafter, when you look at that person, you will not look at the person as he or she is. You will look at it, you will look at him or her from the prism of your opinions only. You will form preconceived notions. So when Krishna emphasized on buddhi in the previous chapter, now Arjuna is concluding that that is his opinion. So he says, Mata, if you have this opinion that knowledge is superior to action, then why are you asking me to act? So the assumption itself is wrong. The basis of Arjuna's question is wrong, and therefore his question will also be faulty. We will see that the second portion of this verse, and then that will continue into the next verse. It's a very interesting flow. You will find that there are many faults in this question, technical faults. But all that is stemming from the faulty base, faulty assumption. And that is, Arjuna thinks that Krishna has certain opinions. It takes a long time for Arjuna to begin to understand the level of Krishna, where he is not influenced by anything when he is giving this wisdom. Any master will give the wisdom in its pure form without being influenced by anyone or any circumstance. That capacity a master has. So the day the student begins to understand and appreciate that, that is when he can truly get the guidance from the master. As long as the student thinks that the master is opinionated, then he will not be able to follow fully what the master advises him. He will think, the master is biased or he's having preferences and all that. See, it is a human mind. The mind tends to get into all kinds of judgments. It doesn't spare anyone. The uncontrolled mind forms judgments over everyone, everything, even the guru, even God also. People talk about which God is superior, Shiva or Vishnu or Shakti. These kinds of debates you can find everywhere. That is all a projection of the mental weakness. So as a sadhak, you should overcome this weakness from, this weakness which is trying to pull you down, and you should become a very strong person who always goes about in life factually, who bases everything on facts. So mata the matam on one hand means opinion, it also means thought. So that subtle difference I'll explain to you in the next session. So today a lot of practical tips have been given. So you reflect on these points and see, as we are going in this particular chapter, so many practical tips will be given, psychological tips. Then the practical sadhana of karma yoga, everything will be given. So as and when you're getting it, reflect on that and absorb it and practice it. You will just find the quality of your life, the energy in your life will start increasing every Sunday when you're absorbing these and putting them into practice. You try it and see. Only then you will understand. See, one thing is for me to tell you, but other is for you to actually try it and experience it. Okay. So now we'll do the Nididhyasana meditation. Sit in a relaxed way. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. With every breath, I am becoming more and more divine. With every breath, I am going deeper and deeper into myself. Beyond this body, beyond these emotions, beyond these thoughts, lies my supreme essential self. I am connected to that infinite supreme being. From this moment onwards, I choose to seek and learn from every experience of life. I choose to bring about the balance in all the aspects of my life. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So, when we come to these kinds of verses where Arjuna is talking, we should not rush through it thinking it's after all Arjuna who's talking. Again, the tendency of the mind is to think only we have to study only what Krishna is giving, not Arjuna. It's not that. Vyasa has put it for a reason. If 2 verses have been dedicated to the question asked by Arjuna, then there must be some messages for us. So the master's effort, the master's work is to use the yogic approach, penetrate and eke out those messages. So take every point very seriously and reflect on that, because that's going to bring about a certain element of change within you. A positive change. Okay? So I'll see you in the next session. Thank you very much. Hari Om.